Hello everyone. I'm Saduel and today we streaming well we reading web novel World Economica, or rather continue reading. So yeah, sorry for delay. Um, oh, as I'm right on in YouTube chat and on Discord, it's kinda silly reason for delay, but I kinda over it, and because of that feel kinda bad. Um, so I kinda it was really needed for me to just lie down a little and I guess digest my food. So yeah, well, at least now I feeling better. So now we can actually read. So what we read in previous stream. Wasn't too much, I believe. There is just Haru uh, getting his new home in church, and then pretty much entire stream it was his him speaking with Lisa and about some stuff, mostly work and money from what I remember. So we learned what Hagana actually work as a teacher, I believe. Also we learned what Church and Lisa kinda have problems with money, but yeah, while Haru didn't agree to works with Lisa to find him, he pay for staying. Uh, and yeah, but he didn't actually say anything about his money and what he kinda rich, I believe. Well, not like a rich, but probably rich for this place where here he is. I don't remember how it's called. Outer sections. I think it's outer sections, but anyway. So yeah, I guess let's continue reading. So we stop on what there is seems like a next day. Well, actually, I'm not sure if it's next day or it's some sort of time skip, and maybe was more day than one. Mostly we just for now we can see what it's day or morning, and in last stream it was evening. It was dark in Windows. So yeah. Also, can I complain about what it's really hard to figure out how to what to write on title for stream, because I have no idea what's will be going on in this novel. I mean, it's probably about every story games, but there is definitely a problem with this particular one, because I believe there is that's mostly now in like world building and yeah, it's like world building stuff and so on. So there is not really going on much. So we kinda don't know at all what's will be going on in next streams and in the future. So yeah, I kinda understand people who don't really make titles for their streams. Maybe I should also don't actually title my streams, uh, at least while it streams, and change it just then the end when the ended stream, so I actually know what was on stream, but not sure about it. Oh yeah. Anyway, so let's start reading. Um, so what do we have here? Did we skip something? Hmm. Okay, so yeah, it was a new day, I believe. If um, he did some exercises, so it's probably a morning. So anyway, I stretched my back and tossed my backpack over my shoulder. That today was Sunday and the trading houses were closed. It was an important date for me as I could go out and just walk around. It also appeared that the culprit from the theft was arrested, so the odds of being mistakenly arrested and taken home had diminished. Hmm. So again, I can't actually say how many days it was because I don't remember what the day was on previous streams. But maybe there was some time skip because, well, as I said here, culprit from the theft was arrested. So I don't know. Anyway, it was just as Lisa suspected. The culprit was a young man who also had run away from home, leaving home without any means, turning to a life of crime and causing trouble for hours. This guy was clearly the typical idiot. It's possible that he wasn't from Earth, but was born and raised on Moon. As someone born and raised on the Moon myself, I could sympathize. But for people from Earth, it seems that the lower gravity was to blame for making many people lightheaded. Aside from issues of pride, many could live on the collected scraps left over from the geniuses and prodigies of Newton City, who had amassed great fortunes. Some would say that it was the fault of this sense of security, perhaps. Compared to the people who came to the moon from Earth, within the group of tourists were also those who came here with some great sense of purpose. They came to the moon to do something for an hour. Okay. It could be that they came to find that tranquil life they couldn't find back on Earth. Likewise, they might have come to find a thrilling life that couldn't be found back on Earth. After all, I understood that one must step forward when one had a purpose at hand. Anyway, the cost to take the orbital elevator by any legal means was staggering, and there were many hurdles to clear if you were to look for any discounts or exemptions. In any case, there were many Earth dogs who knew where they came from, where they were, and what they should be doing. Literally, there was earth on the bottom of their shoes. Yeah, it's interesting because it makes sense what it's probably not really cheap get from Earth to the Moon. Hmm. But then again, we have cases like Lisa, who get on the moon because he study Christianity and stuff. Hmm. So yeah. Hmm. That was why I hated these Earth dogs. Hmm. I tied my shoes and left through the halfway. The place was eerily quiet. Lisa had headed out to the restaurant after eating breakfast. I knew that Hagana was still here, but outside of going to the bathroom, she would seclude herself in her room, and you couldn't even hear a peep coming out of there. I had no idea what she was doing in there, but I got eerie vibes. That was why I had everything I owned in my backpack. I wouldn't be surprised if Hagana took a hammer to my PC and destroyed it while I was out. Um, I mean, Hagana didn't look too friendly, but I don't think he will do something like this. Hmm. I did not continue walking down the corridor towards the living room. Instead, I went up the stairs to the second floor. Hmm. The church was in low income area, much like everything else around. It was built upon parts of a crater that had been partially zoned, so navigating the sector was a bit complex. The entrance to the sector was along a relatively wide street, but the second and third floor portion seems to cling to the cliffs as they stretched upward. According to Lisa, these places weren't very well off financially. Uh, the faded parts of building here and there around the church was obvious, but they appeared neither small or nor inexpensive. Uh, inexpensive. Sorry. Ascending the narrow steps took you to two rooms that looked out on a small yard from which you could see the sky park. As they were both on a slant, the rooms themselves were small. One of them was apparently Lisa's. There was a white painted chair and a table in the small garden. Hmm. And if you were to ascend the stairs on our level, they became more like a ladder. What functioned as a handrail was what Lisa used to carry a basket of laundry. There was a room, or rather a storage shed, on that third floor, and past that you could reach a site near the roof. The door was wooden, but there was a note on it with a handwritten note from Lisa that said to always lock the door when leaving. I was sure people had been locked out many times. I, of course, would be returning through the front entrance, and if I headed out. Oh, I guess in this stream we go outside. Hmm. Also, one thing what I noticed, I don't know it's because of style or something, but uh, these streets don't really look like they're on uh, how it says uh, hmm, sorry, I forget words. Uh, on crater slope or something. But if we actually mm, I mean we can't really go back, but I just when I did thumbnails I noticed what if you look on uh, through the windows on kitchen or something when they were on previous streams. It we actually can see city and it is actually seems like it is on slope or something because it's like was Mm, sorry, I'm forgetting words. Can I actually just show it? Mm. Well, actually, there is kind of have really big chance what it's just using an our background on Windows. Uh, I mean, for the background behind the Windows. Hmm. Okay. Anyway, it's will be too much effort to find these backgrounds. Well, not really, but anyway, it's not so important. So yeah, I just don't really understand how these streets and buildings are. I mean, where they are, because it's from the read it should be on crater slope or something, but it didn't look like this because it's. I mean, maybe it's just really close to the slope. It just it not above our city. And yeah, as I said before, if we seems from church windows, it was seems like it above the city and actually have a really good view. But anyway, let's continue. The moon was in the middle of the 2 week long afternoon. The light that permitted the dome over this lunar city during this time felt rather good. Today I could see Earth from the usual place. This yard had something of an extravagant feel to it, with a large tree growing very close to a cliff behind it. I wondered if the placement of the table and chair were so Lisa and Hagana could enjoy the shade of the tree. Hmm, I kinda wish we have more backgrounds and general stuff in this novel, but I guess it don't really have a big budget, so we pretty much just need to try and image it ourselves. What's written here? Mm, but again, the cliffs all around gave the place a feeling of isolation. It was a nice place. Right now there was only the noise of the laundry machine, and it was clear that belongs to whom. Looking over the jumble of streets of the sixth outer section, you could see someone on the roof casually reading something on a computer terminal, and someone repairing a roof. You could see bakeries and a dry cleaner, uh, buildings spewing out water vapor from escaping chimneys, and homes under construction. Hmm. However, my objective wasn't to survey that area. It would be nice to scale the cliff in the back and roam around to plateau above. But I probably end up on someone's property and they call the cops on me. I moved neatly between the houses seen from the park, and having found the continuation of the path towards the top of the plateau, broke into a run as I left the park. Hmm. I mean, yeah, as I said, it's what reading here in text. It's don't really uh, represent what we see on this background image. But anyway, what was before me was what I had seen from the park. Before me were the buildings of Newton City that pointed in the directions on Earth. Hmm. I left the six outer section business districts and got on the board the rare, boringly named Lunar Development Train. Sorry. Um, it literally was a train from the time the lunar surface was being developed. And at the station's starting point and terminus, there was a diorama of an individual in a spacesuit doing work in the lunar desert. No matter how much you could visit it virtually on the net, Tourists still flocked to the diorama as it showing some difference of gratitude as they took pictures of it. Once someone had the bright idea of making an incision in it to accommodate the box, the tourists would mistake it for a donation box. Supposedly it was filled to the brim with coins. However, what that guy failed to realize was that after only a few hours, foolish tourists would have filled the box with donations. Then they would complain to the station attendant that they couldn't put any more in. Thus, the plan was foiled. After that, capitalizing on that idiot bright idea, the station attendants installed a large unmarked box to collect small change from tourists. This was a classical example of moment of carelessness topping over a good get-rich scheme. There wasn't a lot of living space on the moon, so the lunar development trend almost seems to apologize as it shrunk down and speed through the city. Hmm. The train passed alongside the chaotic mismatch of buildings, and for a brief moment it was possible to look out the window to see into the lives of people inside. The tourists took great amusement seeing their own country culturally styled buildings and lifestyles. Of course, were no cultural aspects I partially saw that amused me at all. The moon was made up of a hodgepodge of immigrants. On top of that, it was a place where people who couldn't shake off Earth gravity gathered. So the coloring was sorry. So the coloring was way too pale. That was why one could say that the line performed very well. And who's from my hometown who sorry, I can't read today, it seems. Yeah, let's start again. That was why you only could say that the line performed very well. And was from my hometown who hoped to accomplish something would resol- resolutely look coldly at all this. This was the moon, after all, not Earth. As we passed each station, the tonescape changed accordingly. Hmm, interesting. Where he heading towards? Did he going to Lunar City? Uh, Mutus City? Um, hmm, anyway, from a chaotic atmosphere to orderly streets, the stateless nature of the place became more evident. Buildings both strengthened with elegant curves that did not exist in the natural world, multiplied as perfectly trimmed trees grew in number. We had entered the white belt. Hmm. There were many advertisements within the train direction as a typical salaryman, with information of insurance for families. Again, the ground gradually lowered, and the train slowly separated from it. The beautiful cityscape unfolded below, and soon we were traveling at the height equal to that of a 10-story building. No matter how beautiful a building was, there would still be provision for the many complexities in life, as one would expect. Everywhere you looked, the green of parks could be seen, and one could look down to see large canals. In contrast, far in the distance, one could see the chaotic town of Red Valley. I was impressed that they would dare come up with names like White Belt and Red Valley. As I thought about that, the train suddenly picked up a burst of speed. Along the streets below, all that could be seen were residential and commercial buildings, like a district of cold buildings. Now that we'd reached a height of 20 stories, we stopped being able to see the tops of buildings passing by. Beyond the glass windows, one could see the busy salaryman as electronic billboards started to flow through the sorry, as electronic billboards started to flood the view. Before long, as if the train went right into a thick forest, we were covered in shadows, and vision was reduced greatly for a moment. The train continued to navigate through groups of nearby buildings by going around them. Then suddenly my vision cleared up again. This was the large plaza before the Newton City Central Station. The vastness of the gi- gigantic, gigantic atrium would amaze not only travelers from Earth, but anyone who's raised on the moon. At 162 meters above ground, nanowires held up a massive clock and hologram screen right in midair. I really wish we had some images for this. Uh, the train continued along the side of the large plaza and was eventually swallowed up within the terminal station. It's like Lunar City can be considered a gathering of the highest level of wealth and horror for mankind. Mm, I still don't really understand. I mean, I probably it was explained before. I just can't remember it. What exactly? Um, okay, we get some music. So yeah, what exactly titles of the city? Uh, yes, all these things called Newton City and part of center is called Lunar City. Hmm, not sure. Anyway, so at least now we get some background, which nice. And yeah, it's look really fancy. But okay, I got off the train and counted the number of advertisements that came into view. There were 3 from tech companies, 4 from major software corporations, 2 from biotech firms, 2 from insurance companies, and 6 from banks. And then there were 5 from investment banks. Each and every one of them was famous for their rate of earnings and prideful of their proceeds. And they had the task of sweeping up all the proceeds from the wealth of Earth and pumping it into this lunar city. Listing the world companies in order of market cap within the top 100 companies, 37 of them were on the moon. More than one would find in London or New York. The number of companies abandoning Earth and setting up their main offices here were great, and the number that wanted to strike it big was even greater. New frontiers gather up the brightest of folks. In this era, as long as you had a talented mind and a net connection, you could come out on top. The moon was different from the Earth, where everything the eye could see had been developed owing to a long history, and all geezers wielded immense power sitting high upon their thrones. Some random country couldn't monopolize power here, and because of the nuclear crisis, countries everywhere shied away from the bomb. Thus, the moon was literally an empty place with no external annoyance. Uh, Even placing second or third in a race to come here would still be more than enough for someone to become a key figure in the city. So, their footprints were no longer displayed along with the hours in the Sea of Tranquility Memorial Hall. Without a doubt, they stood on the forefront of humanity. For example, there was a bronze buste in front of the central entrance of Central City. Maybe it's just called Central City. Hmm. Anyway, the model of this overly serious faced statue seems to look down on pedestrians with E.J. Rauschenberg, who people said would simply ended up as an excellent banker had he stayed on Earth. Right now, he was the CEO of top-class investment bank here on the moon. At barely 29, he got involved in investing in the lunar development trend. In those days, he worked vigorously in lunar development, which few people regarded with much interest, as he gambled upon mankind's career and everything he had. That got the ball rolling. North stories were told about how he built a city from nothing. I thought many key figures would say that very few people understood what that really meant. It's just that they wrote the way well, they said. I supported two sentiments, and how everyone knew that how they all approached it was less than ideal. At any rate, and through my parents came to the moon at the same time that Inger Rosberg did, it was evident in the difference in income levels. They work at leveling the rock to put in soil for the growing and harvesting of crops. Was that not a job from trillions of years before? And on that note, it would have been easier to just have done that back on Earth. That was why I made sure to remind myself of this sometimes by going all the way out to Newton City by train. Partially, it was a place that housed with little training or education. Sorry, it was a place that those with little training or education would oftentimes find their big break in the city. If you left the station and headed in the opposite direction of the plaza right before your eyes was a path on the right hand side of the towering buildings of the lunar government. Among the many glass-filled buildings in Newton City, there were many that were built using material cut from dark rock. Because of that, they looked plain at first glance. But in my opinion, it was something that gives off an intimidating air, like something with an unequally powered gravitation pull. But it was the financial district where banks and investment banks set up shop. Okay. Did we see? Ranch. Think about material from dark rock, but in previous image, every building that actually was white. Strange. Anyway. But in my opinion, it is something that gives off intimidating air, like something with an unequally powerful gravitation pull. No, we actually read it, but anyway. That was the financial districts where banks and investment banks set up shop. Pointing to the street was a simple sign that said Schrödinger Street. Okay. And there next to it was the bronze statue of a small cat. The cat had a sly expression on its eyes, as it lay sprawled with one foot on a single gold plate. Engraved on the gold plate was this. You can't know the outcome until you open the box. It didn't seem like this text on the plate, but I can actually figure out what it's reading here. Anyway, I thought that this was most appropriate for the financial district. I thought I hadn't succumbed to any religious belief here on the moon. I have nothing wrong with petting the cat for good luck. Interesting. So, I guess it's something universal things touching statues, mostly like bronze statues, because I mean, at least in Russia, we also have a lot of these statues, which usually you can really see places when people touch them for also for luck. Yeah, because it's like statues usually like really dark, and uh, places when people touch is pretty polished, like, and you actually see what it's metal. I mean, if it's universal things, you probably knew it already. So anyway, I pat the hat on its head and run my finger along the outline of the gold plate. You can't know the outcome until you open the box. I came here for the sake of telling myself these words. There are many people who went from being mere errand runners to becoming the masters of giant buildings that lined the streets. I literally came to recharge my spirits here. Schrödinger Street on the weekend was pretty much filled with tourists like me. There were only a few taxis running around, not to mention the total lack of luxury cars. You could see busy-looking people in suits, but the security guards in front of the 5-meter front entrances to buildings were yawning out of boredom. I mean, actually now I understand what you're probably going outside because it's weekend, so and our children don't really need to be in school, so cops probably don't gonna pay much attention to him. Yeah, probably really slow because I just now figured it out. But anyway, there was a hot dog stand along the road. It was so famous that people ranging from hotshot packers and traders making a million a month to the 6 months an hour mailmen would all congregate and eat there. I heard that it was great being able to get your dog 10 seconds after ordering and then eat it with one hand. People who'd go to burger joints to eat a meal there, considered second grade, and people who'd go buy boxed lunches were just laughing stocks. Kinda strange, but okay. Thus, being caught up in the flow of walking along the street, I bought a hot dog. Working on a day off, the vendor said something along these lines and placed a fat sausage in the bun. I didn't even think about replying along the lines of "Don't treat me like a fool. I at least have a stable income." Being treated as one of the regulars here filled me with joy. To me, making money was a means and not an end. However, after thinking long and hard about it, the fastest way to get rich had to be here. When I had come to that decision, I felt a great reverence for the people at the head of the pack here. And with that, I realized that I actually did have a bit of fanboy in me. So I thanked the guy, paid my respect to the people passing by, and walked off more fidgety than usual. Hey, we actually get image of main character. I mean, it makes sense what is part of background. Just in-game files we have only one sprite of main characters, so I don't have a lot of choice what put on thumbnail. So anyway, good to know what we actually also have this image. Not sure if I had can actually use it for thumbnail. But anyway, maybe. The main offices of E.G. Rosberg with top-tier investment banks like Howard Burroughs and Platinum Smith not far behind, established their massive buildings here. Also, these blocks when buildings is built from, he called like dark rock, because when he said dark rock, I kinda imagined something like almost black. But it makes sense. I actually don't really knew what rocks in the moon. But I kinda almost imagine this like more whitish, I don't know, or like light gray. Maybe it's actually no, maybe it's just because of images what I'm seeing. Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking on photos and it's kinda like seems like grayish, but maybe it's not actually like this, and just because of lighting. If actually we see a photo of astronauts on the moon, it's like seems really close to actually astronaut suit, which white. Well, it's more grayish, but still. Anyway, let's continue. In order to make the most efficient use of space, Newton City was divided into 3 levels. There were the underground levels, the above ground levels, and the sky level. I was currently in the sky level, and the main entrances for all the buildings were here. Below these were related companies and rented out office space. The underground and above ground level portions of the buildings on Schrödinger Street were filled with countless funds and consulting agencies. While walking around eating my hot dog, I would occasionally come across narrow and compact buildings with gilded signs and atriums adorned with chandeliers and paintings. And kinda interesting, is he just walking around with no purpose, or he actually has a reason why he's here? I mean, probably not here just because of he wanted to see this statue of cat or something, but who knows? These weren't places where money exchanged hands, but rather places where those with enormous sums of money obtained official legal guarantees. Legal? 1 second. Legal, okay. Legal guarantees. Top-class law firms, accounting firms, and government outlets resided here. After walking a bit more, I arrived at intersection. In front of me was a strangely shaped edifice that reminded me of the Colosseum in Rome. The entrance was dozens of floors above the pavement, and the stairs leading up to it formed its own plaza. It was such a special place that it was allowed to use up this much space. occupying the intersection between Schrödinger Street and Beat Street, which was made up of software and media companies. The Lanor United Stock Exchange could be called the city, the source of wealth. It was a place where stocks from companies all over the world, not just from the moon, were traded. It was the pride of the world. Combined with various future markets, trillions of moons exchanged hands every day. There were a lot of tourists and a lot of people crowded around the standard bronze statue at the entrance, taking pictures. You could say this was a pinnacle of capitalism and humanity's expansion. The entrance was wedged between giant screens displaying market information 24 hours a day. Currently airing was a discussion between the vice manager of Lunar Central Bank and famous CEO of Platinum Smith of the relaxation of regulation. Both of them were in their mid-40s and could be considered quite young by our standards. On the moon, someone in their mid-40s would be considered elderly. I thought these two were still full of confidence and energy. I leaned against the giant steps of the stock exchange and ate the rest of my hot dog slowly. Everything here was big, vast and solid. Being a little brat not even worth a scrap of tissue, buying a hot dog was the most that I could do here. However, I'll use the computer in my bag to make money and eventually become one of the major players here. That wasn't much more than the first step in achieving my dream, but attaching specific milestones to my goal made me think of how rushed it was. However, there were many people who managed to pull it off in the past. Thus, there shouldn't be any reason I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to understand without looking with eyes wide open. The CEO of Platinum Smith, who was talking on the screen, had an early salary of 37 million moons, being the highest among all the major enterprises here on Schrödinger Street. Normal people would be quite satisfied at making 2 million moons over their lifetime, so no one would disagree that this early salary was monstrous. However, there were also many people who made at least 1 billion moons a year working in these offices. These were hotshots whose salaries definitely had teeth to them. They made tons of money using their expertise and behaved almost like lone wolves. These were the people I looked up to in adoration, since I had neither a real educational background nor a financial backer. My ambition had still not been fulfilled, so I could only watch them here, but eventually I would stand shoulder to shoulder with them as either rivals or comrades, instead of looking at them from a distance. They were unmistakably billionaires, holding on to the majority of the wealth in this world. Money. Just money. The object of my unbearable desires circulates here like a whirlpool. I squashed the hot dog wrapper and stood up impatiently. Time to head back and look for more money-giving trees. And eventually, I would become someone who would be acknowledged here. And then afterward, while on the train, I fixed my coat on my back while staring at the giant panoply on Newton City's receding buildings. So I guess he was here just for motivation. I mean, makes sense. Okay, going back, I guess. Ah, hey, we get to opening. I'm not sure, maybe I should mute it, but let's try and play it like this, and let's see if we get copyright strike. Um, it's actually have words. New character. Okay, cafe, an hour new character. Alisa, Ghana. Yeah, I hope we don't get copyright strike on this. Just now I probably should just turn off on game audio, but it's too late. So anyway, we get to the opening. It required only 5 streams. Well, actually, since we get opening, there is big chance that there are now actually something starting going on in this novel. I mean, not like I don't like what we have for now, like world building and stuff. It was quite interesting about this city. But okay, so we're streaming for an hour. Let's continue. I'm a little more. Yeah, let's continue. I'm not tired yet. So, as expected, visiting Newton City has replenished my reserves after they had been worked down by a week of trading. Paying no heed to the temptations of consumerism found in the bustling streets, I headed straight back to the church. The scenery changed so much that it appeared as if I was no longer on the same lunar surface, even now. Even now I started seeing more and more buildings on the verge of collapsing. There were people draping fishing lines into the canals and people growing their own food to cut costs. There were people selling steamed buns, people resurfacing knives, and even people repairing shoes on contract. It was a place filled with bustling life, far removed from the realm of high profits. Taking my tongue at no one in particular, I jumped past a crew of buildings while making my way back. While getting yelled at by an old fellow, I jumped to the rooftop of a 4-story buildings and flew into the air. I could see the lunar Chinese restaurant off in the distance. Looking around, I could also see the dirty buildings lined street that the Big Bull Cafe was on, as well as my favorite tunnel that opened out into the hill. However, it was impossible to stay in the air forever. Thus, I descended gradually with a gravity 1/6 that on off tugging at me. I was absorbed by inertia by bending my knees, then flew up for one last time to cover more ground. It's not like I could do this outside of pubs with few people passing by. Depending on the circumstances, I could get pushed aside by police on ground of dangerous behavior. However, this spinning sensation was simply unbearably awesome. It was totally suited for me. having just been rejuvenated by Newton City. Oh, he back in church. Well, it's time to get cranking and look for stocks that will bring me the money. At the moment I've opened the door and walked in. Hmm? No, stop. Still voice resounded in the air. For a second I wondered if I had waltzed into the wrong church, but it didn't seem to be the case. I could still hear the voice. No, stop! Stop it! It sounded like it was coming from the house of the main building. My mind spun in circles for a few seconds, then cleared up immediately. A burglar? And the voice was Hagana? And though she was a dumb, cheeky, and arrogant woman, she was still a woman. I jumped on the back of a row of thieves, flew over them, and dashed down the hall. Why I feel that it will be so misunderstanding here. And pretty sure it will be some, I don't know, cheeky trope. Anyway, I heard a shriek and the sound of something getting flipped over. I opened the half-closed door that led to the living room, threw off my backpack, and make a tight fist. By now my head was swimming in adrenaline and my body was fully primed for battle. The only doubt in my head was advice that I had heard from a guerrilla fighter from the Caucasus region who had said that yelling when jumping into a situation had a negative effect. Rushing in grabbed people's attention easily. However, if you could drop down right away, you'd disappear from their side and approach your target swiftly. Then, once you were within range, you'd be up in one go and apply overwhelming force. If your opponent was armed with gun, just jump off to the side. He won't be able to hit you. If he wielded a blade, just go straight for him. It's not as scary as you'd think. I'm not sure about these advices. I mean, I don't really understand anything about this, but still, it's kinda feels dangerous. Now, if he's unarmed, just do whatever. So there is some person here. Huh. I aimed at the dude who had just trashed the room and took a swing at him with my fist. I planted my feet with all my strength to increasing the friction, increase my effective mass and lose the power of my punch. As long as your mass was low, the power of your attack would only be that Newton third love gave you. My punch made a clean hit on my opponent, who had just turned towards me in surprise. With a nice sounding smack, the punch went through unhindered. That seems to be enough. I got pulled along by inertia of my punch, and by the time I stopped spinning on my other foot, my opponent spun around awkwardly and collapsed right there. He wasn't passed out. I thought he might have gotten a confusion. His eyes was zoned out, and his hands, which looked like they were trying to grab onto something, were trembling and stiff. Preparing myself to kick him into the air at moment's notice, I called out Halgana without averting my gaze on one bit. You okay? Okay, interesting situation. I don't really expect someone being here. I mean, it still can be some sort of misunderstanding. So let's continue reading. At least it's some action. In the corner of my eyes, I could sort of make out a figure club entirely in black. It was Hagana. She was standing motionless and silent, stuck against the wall. No audible replay come back. However, she was silent not because of the usual arrogance factor, but because she was simply unable to speak. The man grabbed onto the fallen sofa with one hand and tried to prop himself back up somewhat, and I grabbed that hand and twisted it upwards. squeezed the bony part of his wrist and twisted it upwards and outwards. His body fell over easily, and the extreme pain made the intruder's throat quite clear. Hey, what are you? Those were my words after I rotated his arm behind his back, putting me in position to let me apply additional pressure at any time. Okay, it feels like some misunderstanding because there is some fibers here. Maybe... I mean, we already have what Lisa and George don't really have a lot of money. So maybe they can't pay some taxes on, or maybe they actually are renting this place. Don't know. I guess we will find out. This guy was a middle-aged man about the same height as me, and he had a grimy appearance as well as frizzy hair that was mostly thinned out. He looked like quite a crafty guy. I looked past the man at Hagana. It didn't look like he had a salve cure or anything. The only thing I could see was that the corners of her dumb, cheeky eyes had gotten red and that her hands were trembling a bit. If you don't answer properly, I'll kill you. And if you remain silent, I'll kill you. I knew many deserted lots, and I also knew ruffians who came from war-torn regions on Earth. In a place where there was a possibility of maybe just one murder a year, my threat probably sounded like a child's bluff. However, that's appraisal depended on the circumstances. The man I subdued pretty much instantaneously let out a hoarse shriek. I twisted his arm lightly and asked him again, "What are you, a Bulgar? Did you know that it's okay to punish a Bulgar by killing him?" This time his shriek was quite clear. "Wait, please, wait, don't kill me." Well, depends on circumstance. What with the mess in this room? Enlighten me. I twisted his arm some more, and he let out a squeal. I knew what it managed to make Agana cower in fear. She was surprisingly feminine and totally out of it. "It's a misunderstanding. I'm not a Bulgar. No way." "So then, what are you?" I'd hardly expect some neighbor to come over for tea and then get angry enough to trip over a sofa, send a table flying with a kick and rip out the carpet. The room really did look that way, like a building marked for demolition. Furthermore, I myself heard Hagana shouting for him to stop. And also, her hand was trembling. Well, but it wasn't my fault, it's her fault. Oh yeah? Well, aren't you the self-righteous Bulgar? Like I said, I'm not a Bulgar. It's true, I'm a debt collector. So yeah, as expected, they definitely have problems with money, so... Debt collector? That's right, I came to collect some old money. It's just my job. I didn't think he was lying, but I decided to look over at Hagana anyway. After Hagana stared at the suffering man, she noticed my gaze and turned towards me in surprise. Is that the case? Then asked, she paused for a second and then nodded. I clicked my tongue and let the man go. The man crawled along the floor to run away, then turned around. What the? It's just a brat. If you think I'm a brat, want to go for a round two? Training up my body had really been convenient for a lot of things. The debt collector shook his head violently and looked up at me through servile eyes. So, a debt collectors, one of whose types, eh? They even have the right to do all this. Well, I figured. So what are we going to do? Huh? I said, what should we do? Should we call the cops? Or are we really going to do some debt collecting? The debt collector clearly gulped. However, afterwards he lowered his gaze. At most I'd be lectured at all night in detention. Besides, if you call the cops, I will just read them this loan statement. I don't really want to sign it. It cost me some fees, but I could totally just go get the courts to foreclose on you. Well, aren't we a spunky one? I moved my knee up to scoot over to him, but he suddenly pulled back, so I wasn't able to force him down anymore. And with that I remember one thing from my training. Your opponent stopped yielding, go for negotiations. Well, you're here for interest and fees, right? Hehe, yeah. So you understand, right? In this world, you can't just borrow money and refuse to show even the smallest sign of paying it back. Besides, I got totally treated like trash. The debt collector glanced over at Hagana. Following his lead, I also looked over. She was cowering against the wall like a pinned butterfly. When the money was lent out, it was all humility and everything, you know? Well, I guess it was Lisa who was lowering her head. Well, I can kind of see that. Oh, you see, right? Why do I have to put up with being called a dark beetle or space trash? Looking at Hagana past the grumbling debt collector, I could see her looking downwards and starting at us with silent, childish eyes. Besides, it's not like I'm asking for entire principal back. I know that it's impossible anyway, but it's also a business, so I'd like for this interest to be paid back at least. And as he said that, there's no money here for you. Hagana yelled out. The debt collector shrugged and turned towards me with, see, I told you, breathing on his face. He's probably in the right. I have the sight of resignation. I looked up at him. So, how much? What? The interest, how much is it? Oh, his face lit up. Don't tell that you are gonna... Depends on the amount. Oh, saying too much might result in the offer retraction, but saying too little might end with losing money. I could see the guy taking this question in his mind for a moment until he finally came up with an answer. 200 moles. I remember how Lisa reacted when I had given her 200 moles. So this was it, huh? So what's this month interest, or this year interest? This month's. As my toe blew over and I did a bunch of things, is lower than the usual. It's actually 6% annual interest on a 50,000 small principal. Compound interest is kind of annoying, so I had just set it at the 250 moles a month. As I had totally true that this was some shady loan deal, I was surprised at the relatively low interest rate here. To hide my surprise, I ordered him coldly. Show me the loan agreement. What? At first the debt collector was speechless, but eventually he reluctantly showed it to me. Those numbers he quoted were certainly written down here. I signed again and stuck my hand into my pocket. Here. I had drawn out 100 mole bills, so I carefully counted out 200 moles worth of bills and handed it to him. He reached out carefully, as if I would smack him the moment he laid hands on the money. After receiving the money, he hunched over the money and counted furtively. It's good. Alright. Well, then I'll be off. Wait up. I swept his leg quickly with my front leg, causing him to fall over. Okay, a little rude. Then I got up, walked over him, put my knee on his face, and squatted down. You got some nerve not giving me a receipt. Aren't you a student? Talk about money doesn't bother me. You tell me. After I said that, the debt collector resigned himself, cut me a receipt, and returned dejectedly. I leaned against the magnificent door of this church, which hung a crucified man and some of the man of faint silhouette before looking back at the receipt in my hand. 200 moles of interest was probably a large amount of money in these parts. If I wanted to earn 200 moles with the job Liz offered to refer me to, it would take 4 to 5 days worth of income to come up with that amount. Furthermore, in that period of time there would be food expenses and rent, along with other consumables and such that must be paid. In our words, low income meant you couldn't save up money. If you couldn't save up money, you couldn't invest. And if you couldn't invest, you'd be forced to make money by selling your time forever. A shovel could not fill a giant hole. You could only fill a giant hole by pushing a snowball down a hill until it snowballed into an enormous ocean. I actually hadn't seen snow before. I had heard the advice before that investments and really liked this particular analogy involving snowballs. Simply put, that's why these 200 moves weren't just 200 moves to me. It's something that could become 10,000 moves or even 1 million moves in the future. Unless I returned, I'd have to get my money back. At least I stopped her putting 200 moves in the cupboard. I wasn't going to let her just say she didn't have it. While pondering that, I crossed the prayer hall and returned to the living room. Hagar was putting the furniture back in place. She was emotionless, but somehow I got the feeling that she was angry. It was probably the rough way she was handling the overturned table and kicked out the carpet. I would prefer not to refer to her by something that would give off an aura of prettiness, such as a girl. However, Hagana unmistakably possessed the delicate XX chromosome, so she was as weak in body as she was strong in spirit. It would be a different story if you had just arrived from Earth, but for people who have lived on the moon for a long time and have gotten accustomed to the low gravity, they'd only be able to deliver a proportionally low amount of force as well. She was trying to put the big sofa back in its place, but it wasn't going too well. She must have noticed me standing in the doorway, but she hadn't asked for any help. She looked like she was just short of telling me what she wouldn't ask for help from the likes of me. I thought she was a cheeky girl, so there was no obligation for me to help. Besides, she hadn't even thanked me yet. I walked past the doorway and was about to go back to my room. I heard a voice just as I was passing by Hagana. Why won't you help? She couldn't move the sofa back in place because she couldn't lift it all the way up, and the leg was stuck. She tried picking it up from different angles, but none of those attempts worked. And too, she was panting lightly. Her eyes was fixated on the task with the weight of a dumbbell. Furthermore, it looked like her princess hubris was in full force. I sighed heavily and replied to her, "Why do I need to help if I haven't been asked?" Sure enough, Hagan lowered her head. With her slender chin and slender neck, her lowering her head made her a textbook example of a delicate girl. My eyebrows wrinkled as I wondered if she was really putting on a show, but she answered me with the following. If I ask, would you help? I could feel my face twitching, but if I got mad now, I'd hate myself acting like a baby. Hence, I prepared myself and answered. Yeah. Help me out. Huh. I looked back at Hannah in surprise. She was staring back at me with pure black eyes. Are you deaf? She continued with one two combo, just like a relentless princess with a whip. They push, retreat, then they retreat, push. Hagan's great at arguments. While feeling regret, I really had to help her now that I said I would. Alright, I get it. Shit. What was that last one? She asked me to repeat that, I said, and I clicked my tongue angrily. Hearing that, Hagan totally looked condescendingly at me, wondering where it was with this baboon. I feel that it was not in my best interest to let Hagana into my view, so I wedged my eyes, put my hands on the fallen sofa, lifting it up without bending my knees. Lifting it above her body height was a little bit of rebellion on my part. Keeping it in that position, I asked her, "Oh, where would you like this place, milady?" Asked her, injecting ample amounts of disdain into my tone. However, Hagana didn't show any signs of caring. She looked over at the carpet immediately and pondered. Seems that my disdain raised not an inch of ire from her. She really got on my nerves. The rear leg should line up this spot. The sofa should face perpendicular to this way. After being instructed briefly, I lowered the sofa as she had instructed size. I didn't feel like nitpicking. It's a bit crooked. Being told that, I gritted my molars, took a deep breath, and was somehow able to suppress my anger. Is it okay now? Satisfied? Yeah, it looked like that way. Hagana nodded and turned around immediately to start collecting the various little items scattering on the floor. No words of appreciation came my way. I wasn't expecting any to begin with, but I ended up feeling anger similar to disappointment. In the village where I grew up, if you did something for someone, they'd thank you for it. If someone did something for you, you'd return the favor, of course. The culture over there, which I had considered simple, crude, and audacious, had somehow rooted itself strongly in me. I scratched my head while trying to contemplate all the difference between Hagana and me. I had gotten into a bad mood again, passing the wonderful now, I don't know this word. 1 second. Resus. Resuscitation. Okay. Resuscitation I hadn't enjoyed from Schrödinger Street. Maybe I should go stroll through Red Valley sometime. On top of that, if I started with Hagana anymore, there'd be possibly I might end up laying hands on her. Of course, I didn't mean it in the sexual sense, but in the physical balance sense. Okay. I was about to leave the living room and walk into the hallway leading to the inner rooms. And thus, when I heard a voice call out to me, I totally thought it was a hallucination. There aren't enough flowers. When I turned around, I saw Hagana putting a vase on the table and arranging the flowers. The stark contrast between the white lily-like flowers and the pitch-black Hagana in juxtaposition was remarkable. However, next to it were some poor flowers flattened by someone stepping on them. I guess that was she meant. So what? Get some for me. I was pretty much silent as I walked reflexively towards Hagana. If the following words hadn't popped out of her mouth, I would probably walk right up to her and turn the graceful face of hers into tomato paste. Please. My feet stopped instantly, and I ended up staring steadily at Hagana. She returned my stare in the same manner and said, I ask you to help. So I should go do it as soon as possible, huh? I couldn't figure out what to say or how to say it. I had confidence in my true process, but when interacting with this woman, I got a strong message that my head wasn't quite screwed on right. I had given my words, and Hagana had, at least in appearances, asked me to do something. Having gotten nothing, not even a thanks in return, I replied bitterly. What kind of flower it is? Staring at me with emotionless eyes, as if saying that it's obvious what flower she was looking for, Hagana pointed her slender finger at the vase. I don't know where the woos grow. Me neither. Okay. Thinking what? I furrowed my eyebrows and was about to jab Hagana in the chin, but Hagana's expression remained unchanged. But aren't you as nimble as a monkey? It should be more logical for you to search than me. Mm, it's really have. I think what there is something wrong with Hagana. Like main character maybe a little overreaction in his thoughts, but yeah, I totally see what she kinda annoying. Man, why did I have to follow your orders and even have to allow myself to be called a monkey? I wanted to yell at her, but Hagana paid no attention to me, turned her head around, and looked at the vase again. Disagree with these flowers. It would be a problem if there were less than 7. Hmm. At that moment, my anger evaporated instantly. Your profile looked so pitiful. However, I quickly covered my thinking and told myself it's just a show of mimicking people with the XX chromosome. As long as you were born a pretty woman, no matter how rotten you were inside, you look like a beauty standing next to some flowers. Well, as long as it was a real problem, I could just go and get some. And how my refutations were unrelenting, I ended up running off dejectedly to find some flowers. Of course, searching around blindly would be something, and enduring Earth dog will do. I took my computer out of my backpack, booted it up, and took a picture of the flowers with its camera. I then used an image search on the net and determined what type of flowers it was. Furthermore, since doing something bizarre like growing stuff like flowers on the moon could only be due to curiosity, I entered the flower name and the name of the area around here. Having done that, I found a picture uploaded by some bored and or curious person of the flower nearby, and hooray, I located the whereabouts of this flower. Oddly, this post came up had also something to do with the church. Oh, look, this isn't this just a cliff above us? A flower aficionado who lived nearby had written a post proudly proclaiming that he taught Lisa how to grow flowers. This is surely the garden of the cliff that I'd seen when I left this place earlier today, and I certainly had the feeling I saw a peak of blooming flowers too. I turned towards Kagana, who was busy with the cleanup, and had occasionally snug glance at me, and I tilted the display towards her. I guess they're blooming on the cliff above us. I see. I need 2 flowers. Don't mess up. It didn't seem like she had even an ounce of inclinations to retrieve the flowers herself. Having lost the will to get angry, I closed the computer and got up from the floor. I hopped up to the second floor and then onwards to the third floor. I stuck something in the annoying after locking door to keep it open and went outside. From the lights on the door, I could tell it was almost time for evening mode to kick in. Hmm. The earth appearing in its usual location and showed me its faint blue figure. I scanned the garden, which had a great view and looked like it would be quite a nice place in which to hang out. After looking around, I found the lilies growing in a flower bed just like in the photo. When I approached it, 5 flowers fluttered in the light breeze. Since they were so fresh, young, and full of life, I paused wondering if I should really uproot them. I thought I could not see any trace of sunflowers having been uprooted before. There was no mistake the flowers Lisa had were originally picked from here. I pulled up 2, shook the dirt off them, and then carried them back down. Then I got back to the living room and returned to normal, and Hagana was sitting at the table. She looked at the 2 lilies on my hands and frowned. What? You said 2, didn't you? The roots are still attached. I took a deep breath and responded slowly. Well, you didn't say that you didn't want the roots. I thought she'd just ignore that, but she stared at me for a bit and nodded in agreement. Disappointed, I handed the two leaves to Hagana. Hagana then grabbed a pair of scissors from the cupboard and started cutting out the flowers in the sink. Her firm movements gave the impression that she was quite experienced at this. Unfortunately, it was in appearance only. She was cutting them straight across the stem. You don't know how. I asked her quickly. How to that? Here, let me see. Why? She furrowed her brows in surprise, but as I approached her and stretched out my hands, she handed me scissors and the flowers. For this situation, you should cut it diagonal to the stem. It basically lets the stem absorb the water a lot more easily. Well, it didn't apply to everything, but it was a basic rule of thumb, as I had learned at home. I cut the two stems at an angle, and Hagana, who had been staring at my hands, looked up at me. Is that true? Probably. I said that with a shrug. Hagana showed a bit of rare emotion in response to my vague response. A slight wrinkle appeared on her forehead, and she lowered her chin. Well, it appeared that Hagana wasn't good with these types of things. Perhaps as a reaction to being stepped on all the time, I started bluntly my knowledge. So I take it you don't know what you're not supposed to store vegetables lying on their side. Vegetables? Their freshness will depend on whether you lay them on their side or stand them up. Hagana had slightly started face, as if she were saying, "That's impossible." Then she stared at me. She then brought her leaves back together quickly. Oh, hey, it looked like she was kind of angry. My heart sank for joy. To crash it out, what I was making fun of her. That's a lie, right? Why don't you test it out? I immediately returned with a retort. My dad once said that just as humans would weaken if put in a different environment, vegetables would also weaken if placed in a different orientation from when they were growing. Interesting. Actually, I don't know this fact. Oh. Interesting. So yeah, I also don't know if it's true or not, but I guess good to know. And therefore, there is a difference on how well they kept. It looked like she was just glaring at me, but eventually she turned around and looked at the flowers while speaking in almost a quiet whisper. I'll keep that in mind. I thought exhibiting oddly good behavior, but then her second line came out. Since I'll verify it someday. While still thinking cute couldn't really describe this woman, I did feel that this was the first time we were able to have a real conversation. Hagana retrieved the flower from me without a word, and still without a word placed them in the vase. That behavior made me sense a bit of humanity from her, and wonder if I didn't really have to have such a prejudiced view. If anything, if the flower lower Lisa had raised If anything, I probably should stop reading soon because it's became a little harder. Anyway, if anything, if the flower lover Eliza had raised these flowers, she'd be distraught if she came back to find some flowers missing. Gun's consideration for Eliza inventing to replenish the number of flowers, well, I'd have to say that it was girly. I thought that It would be really nice if some of that humanity could be directed towards me, but of course I couldn't say that aloud. Actually, I feel defeat at the point when I doubt that and just those doubts out of my head. What? Time skip? Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. Should we stop here or wait for end of the day? Probably let's stop here because I kinda expect what I mean Lisa should get back from work or somewhere there is, and there is probably will be some conversation between her and Haru, which definitely gonna take some time. So yeah, let's stop here. Oh yeah, and it's all for today. Um, next when reading stream will be on Tuesday. But for now, goodbye. Have a nice time of the day.